I'm going to begin just by, I mean, this is a very kind of pertinent issue, and this film has actually been causing quite a lot of debate. It must be so great to be involved in a film that is getting people talking like this.
Well, it's nice to make a film that's about something, but I just want to sort of stress that it makes it sound like an earnest diatribe on it. I mean, you don't, but if I talk about it, it can sound dry and theoretical and, you know, politically narrow, which doesn't sound like the best way to spend a couple of hours in the movie theatre. And, you know, the film wouldn't be worth much if it were only that. But it's a tremendously kind of human story at the same time, paradoxically, for a character who has extinguished all trace of humanity in her kind of daily life in order to pursue what she does more single-mindedly and more successfully. But yeah, it is interesting. It's such an interesting subject, particularly for people who don't live in that country.
Would you think it actually helps coming at the issue as a kind of Brit, because not having that kind of relationship with the kind of gun laws that, because for us this is all quite foreign, I guess.
It is, and I think as an outsider you always have an advantage that your main motivating factor is curiosity and a need to understand. And frankly, again, the film is not a polemic, and I was anxious not to polemicize it anyway, but to kind of investigate both sides of the argument. It's a difficult one to understand, to be honest with you, because it's full of contradiction. Within the gun-owning community, there are many, many, many people, even a majority, I would say. Majority of NRA members are in favour of gun legislation, strangely. But the stranglehold that the NRA has over the arguments means, and over the narrative particularly, means that when it comes to a vote, the people always vote one way, because it's always presented as the beginning of an effort to confiscate weapons. So, you know, it's helpful to be outside in order to understand that. I mean, I'm not there to point a finger with the film, because it's not about taking sides. It's about unpacking something and investigating it and shining a light on it and trying to understand the way it works. It's not just about that issue either. It's about political process largely, and why that's so screwed up in America.
Well, also, I mean, it's very interesting to have a very ambitious, powerful woman at the heart of a story in a country that, as we've seen over the last couple of years, they respond too well potentially, I guess, to ambitious women.
Strong, ambitious women, no. I mean, and when we started to make the film, because it was every expectation, I think, that the Democratic nomination would go to Hillary, but certainly no expectation that gender and, you know, misogyny would suddenly become so central to the whole presidential debate. So it's weird in that way, because the way this character behaves seemed like an answer to those kind of things. But of course the movie goes on to surprise you in all sorts of ways about that. But yeah, it's very interesting to have a woman at the centre of it, particularly such a male-dominated world.
Because it's interesting, because this film is steeped in realism and very grounded by very human themes. At the same time, there's a kind of Aaron Sorkin quality to it, where it's sort of overtly kind of cinematic, I suppose. Did that give you a bit of license to be quite kind of dramatic and quite kind of adventurous with the way you kind of presented the tale? Yeah,
I guess so. I mean, you know, it's slightly heightened, but it's heightened because of the extraordinariness of the character at the centre of it, who plays by a rule book that is so exaggerated, is pushing the envelope so much that actually, you know, it's fairly breathtaking. Weirdly, as we were, you know, finishing the film off, I was looking at some of the techniques that Trump was employing and feeling extremely uncomfortable that they were resembling some of the techniques employed by this character. On the other hand, I'm not out to make an audience sympathise or approve of what she's doing and the way she's doing it some of the time, but that's part of the subject of the film. Yeah, it's interesting.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey